Hey guys, how y'all doing? Once again, this is me, Miss Shauna, and we're going to be talking today about hair cutting. We're going to be dealing with a bevel haircut. We're going to be using 45 degree, and it's going to be done with a diagonal back parting, as well as we're going to be framing the face. We're going to be discussing things such as tension, body posture, and finger angle. Some things what we have discussed in class about, but this here is just to help to reiterate to you when we're considering hair cutting being a foundation for our model today, which we have here is Sam too. So yeah, give it up for my girl. All right, so let us get started real quickly. You all know that we've been discussing how to section hair, which will give us nice control. We've been working on a platform or a plane where we're dealing with profile section, which is separating left and right, as well as a radial parting, which separates the front from the back. So we've been discussing using combs with that are lighter than the actual levels, so it'll create a contrast to the hair. Also, which helps us to make sure we line up. We're gonna go in and part a profile section. So I'm just gonna separate the front from side to side, left and right. She has already had a haircut and had bangs, and she wanna kind of get rid of the length that's over on the sides. We've been discussing in class, let me turn it to a side profile. We've been discussing in class as we see our comb, the teeth should be touching the head. I'm gonna tilt her head slightly forward, just a quick slide, so you all can see with the rotation of the head. Taking that comb, placing it where the spine of the comb is away from that head. Teeth are always going to be directed to the scalp. Taking, parting, sectioning that hair straight back. On a horizontal scale, we're going to part going back down the crown area through the parietal ridge, passing the occipital bone till we get to the very back of the center of the nape. So here we are. I take my comb because we want to have nice clean partings. When you take your comb at the parting on the horizontal, crossing, going down vertically through the head, you want to make sure that you are taking in parallel, lining that teeth up with the part so you can comb that hair away from your part. So it'll be easy for you to assess. Because we have been discussing, a lot of us been just taking it and combing it straight down, but it's not really giving us clear to what our parting is looking like. With that being, after creating a left and a right, separating the hair from left and right using a profile section, we're going to come in and now we're going to have and demonstrate from the apex going straight down the ear to separate front from back. So we're talking about slightly behind the apex, just cleaning up partings. A lot of times when we're working and we want to make sure that we have nice clean partings, you can take your comb, take it, place it in and rock it right on up to that part to make sure if it's straight. Now, we don't want to imagine kind of take it and curve it on a slant, but we want to make sure that it's nice and vertical, traveling up and down in that space. What I did on the left, that means that I'm going to turn, and now it's time for me to do it on the opposite side. Parallel, allow the teeth to touch the head while the spine of the comb is away from. I'm gonna hold the hair and then I'm gonna turn that comb vertical so I can comb that hair out the way, okay? Once again, I'm gonna take and comb this hair that's in the back section out the way. We're gonna over direct that to the back, just so we can isolate it into one space in one area. After doing that, we're going to travel and move forward. What we have in plan, because she already had bangs, we're going to do some layering in here, but we're going to face frame it as well, just to see and create some volume, some actual motion and movement, where it kind of gives that weight of heaviness that travels to the back. So it would draw the eyes to the back of the head and not towards the front of the face, okay? I'm gonna work in the front area of my model here today. She already has bangs. This area around the whole front temple, bang, fringe. Let us be mindful that there are a lot of activity that goes on here. When we deal with cowlicks, you got to keep that in mind. Also, when we're working with cowlicks, we want to make sure that we use less tension and understanding that that hair will shrink when it's dry. Also, we see that those spaces where the cowlick is up in the bang area, we don't want to apply too much tension in that space. This is the area where we're going to discuss how we mirror. When you make a profile section, that means that you're mirroring what's on the left to what's on the right. I'm going to follow through. When you're working with the density of hair, it also will determine how much hair that you need to part in order to continue to follow your guide all the way through. So what I have in store for her, because she has some thick hair, but we're going to go in, we're going to soften it up. Some points at the end, I will do some point cutting to help to accentuate, and we'll look at the final design once we arrive to that destination. I'm going to come along and just take and part off. I'm going to twist this back, front, left section out the way. We talked about guides and points, and when we're making points and how we are to part the hair. Now, with that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to slightly go in diagonal back, parting that hair, because I want to make sure that I am following my parts at all times. You always want to make sure you follow parts. So with that being, I'm making a diagonal back line, and you all can see, if I take and place a marble here at the tip of the comb, it's going to roll and go towards the back of the head. So that's how I know that that's a diagonal back parting. Another thing, we talk about not passing our knuckles, and with that being, we want to make sure that we don't want to cut our inner flesh. Also helps to create the same amount of tension all the way through. If you pass your knuckles, you can somehow get loose tension with holding that hair. So as beginners, we're going to make sure that we follow through with 2 inches, which gives you maximum control. Maximum control, minimum effort, okay? So with that being, we're going to go in and we're going to take and part off those 2 inches of hair. Utilizing that bang in the fringe area as a guide to go in to cut. We talked about palming shears, which can be a little confusing because we love to keep our thumb in the thumb grip, which is the moving blade. We want to make sure we remove that out of the hand and take and place your comb into it. Now, there has been times where we discuss, well, how do I hold my shears when I palm? If you want to flip them back and comb through, it's okay as long as you're safe for you or your client. Now, with that, we're going to follow through with that diagonal back parting using a 70-30 rule. That means that you always keep 70% of your guide in your hand and add 30%. So when it's time to release, you're going to release 30% and then you'll add another 30%. But always keep it. You right. Got it. Yes, you're going to be keeping that 70% in your hand at all times. So as I begin, I know that I'm lining the teeth of that comb up on that diagonal back, combing, making my part to the head. Let me get my rule of thumb here. Here we go. So therefore, we line it up, and knowing that that part is on a diagonal back because I'm lining the teeth up with the parting. You see how I'm not bringing it to a horizontal scale where it's coming straight down. Because if I comb it straight down and not following the part that's at the scalp, I will take chances of creating a step in the hair. And that wouldn't be a blending mark for me. So with that following through, making sure that you line the teeth of the comb up, locking that hair. A lot of times you have artists, they go up underneath so that hair can sit in that comb. Lining it where it meets the edge of the comb, the hair does, placing your fingers behind and pressing with your fingers as you begin to project and bring that hair out, following through, palming my shears. And when you cut, you want to make sure when you cut out. That's what's going to help to keep a nice precision line. Not cutting into the hair as a sliding board, because what's going to happen is with the hair being down, it'll take and shift the hair forward where it will begin to get longer. So you always want to make sure when you're cutting that you're cutting away from your finger, okay? So I'm going to follow through, lining it up, creating. I got my guide because I'm following through. My fingers are going to be pressing the comb towards me, because as soon as it's time to move the comb, because you're able to see your cutting line, then you want not to bring your fingers forward. Have you all ever did a haircut or even hang a picture on the wall, and with you hanging that picture on the wall without using a leveler, you step back and see that picture from a distance and you like, ain't this picture crooked? But when I put it on the wall, it wasn't. It didn't look like it. It didn't appear to be that way. So when we're taking a look into creating, this comb is your lever. Once you move this comb out the way, your fingers do not move. Once again, your fingers do not move. Okay, let's go in. Okay, so I'm down here at the bottom creating my nice guide. I see my trace line, and so all I'm doing is connecting the dots, and I'm going to continue to take these diagonal back partings. I'm moving still in the top front section. I'm going to twist that side out the way. Come in, and I'm bringing that hair forward. And all I'm doing is creating weight in this design right now. So all I'm doing is tracing, again, using 70-30 rule. With you using the 70-30 rule, so you can follow through with lining the teeth up with your diagonal back parting as you begin to comb the hair straight forward. and cutting away. Now, I'm continuing because I'm giving her a nice face framing, and this here is going to be a bevel cut, and it's going to begin to start going to the back. Somewhat of that mushroom look, Pageboy haircut. That was what it was back in the day. What people are doing with things today is also dynamic with them naming them different hairstyles, which I think is very creative too. Okay, so let's talk about this real quickly. We've been parting and taking subsections and bringing it to the first previous section to be cut, because we talk about guide plus distance is always going to give length, okay? Guide plus distance, it always gives length. So therefore, we bringing the hair forward towards the face. That means that it's going to get longer as we deal with the interior, but exterior is going to be more shorter than the interior. So it's going to carry a little bit more weight as we look at this design that we're working. I'm lining it up, cutting that hair, bringing it in, creating a nice bevel cut as we work around the face. As we continue, if the pieces don't reach, guess what? We're not going to even worry about it. It's not going to even be a part of our design. We're going to just allow it to be where it's at, and we'll correct it, clean it up as we work in the interior of the head. If you with me, say yes. Ah! Awesome. So we're going to do and mimic exactly what we did on the back of the opposite side. So what we did on the right side, let's come on over and take a look and do it on the left side. Now this time it can be a little bit confusing. Is it okay for me to move to the opposite side of the head? Thank you. Okay, here we are. Once again, we're going to make diagonal back parties. Everybody say diagonal back. Okay, so that diagonal back is going to go and look. Once again, you see how I've taken my comb in place, looking, making sure that I see a marble rolling towards the back of the head. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in and make my parting, and it's going to be a diagonal back parting. So with that being, again, your 70-30 rule, as you follow through with your mannequin, you want to, or with your cut, you want to make sure that you line 70% and cut away with utilizing your haircut and doing your haircut. So with that being, we're going to discuss and make another parting here, 70-30 rule, following in that diagonal back line. That diagonal back line, we're going to follow and cut away, cut away. I'm getting to that last piece, but making sure that we're not turning that comb parallel, because if that comb is parallel to the floor, then we will cut a step in the hair. We want to gradually have a nice beveled haircut, making sure that those lines are lining up as we begin to go in and cut that hair. Should bring us great balance as we work around the entire head. I'm going to come, make another parting here up top and add into. We talked about guide plus distance is always going to give length. Following through. 70-30, keeping that 70%, able to see your trace line. The hair that is in the palm of your hand, do not exceed past, because it will cause a step where the hair will get actually longer, and we don't want it to get longer. So what I'm doing is making sure that I just trace what I have, and it helps to keep the balance on both left and right side of the head. Okay? So with that being, I'm going to finish this on up. I'm going to go silent for a second. Add this last piece in. Hopefully if it's stretched and it reaches out, then I will go in and just clean up that space right there. Again, we're talking about adding and creating bevel, making sure that we keep balance. And because we're keeping balance, that means that we're working left and right and making sure that those parts are in the same space. So as we see for the back, we're going to begin to start working towards the back. I'm just going to tilt her head slightly off to the side. Clear. And again, that same parting from where we exit at with our front, we're going to start to add it into the back. Where that will begin to come, we're going to create a nice little long piece, a nice little tail. I think it will help to accentuate the hairstyle as well, dealing with the hair design at the end. So I'm going to make sure that I come in, I have my diagonal back. If you want to work on a scale where it begins to be exaggerated, if you want to exaggerate it with a nice long tail in the back, you can. That means that the extension has to go more stretching from a diagonal back to a more vertical. That means that it stands up and down once you get to the back section. We're going to do opposite and just stay basic, okay? With just learning how to follow the parts that we are making that is on the head and learn how to be parallel to your subsections, okay, that you're making. A lot of times we go wrong in that error. I'm using the tension side as I begin to work. If she had fine, thin hair, I could take larger sections. One of the things I want you to keep in mind as well as you begin to work is with these haircuts, you want to make sure that the hair's not super duper wet, especially when it's thick and coarse. Why? That means that that hair is going to push, it's going to go the other direction. And so therefore it'd be harder to cut because it's super duper duper wet, okay? So don't have it drench when you're working. I'm going to come in, route the back to the front. And so I'm going to just make sure that you see your guide. So I'm merging both the back and the front together. Once again, merging the front and back together, creating a nice line that's going to create some great movement to the back of the head. Now, there is a point where when you get to the length of the hair, then you are going to find out that, oh, it doesn't reach. I got a little small tree that's hanging outside from the point that's at the knuckle to the end point of my last guide that I cut. And this extension of hair that's in between that means that I'm at my last piece to blending, okay? You're at that last piece of blending in that mark. As I continue to work from this right profile section, I'm going to slightly come in and take a parting, and with me taking that parting and bringing it in, all I'm doing is following the same guide that I had before. And I'm just tracing it all in together. And if it doesn't reach, it's no concern of ours. We're not going to worry about if it doesn't reach. So therefore, you see this line is coming straight into fruition because we're following what? We don't have to go and measure side to side. Why? Because we're lining up with our parting that helps to keep maximum control. Using 70-30 rule and giving 2 inches, which gives you maximum control. And that's what this thing, name of this game is. Maximum control with minimum effort. We're going to follow suit on the opposite side of the head, and then we will begin the rest of the hair design at the end. Of course, everything is not reaching, so it's not my concern at this moment. We will be discussing later on a haircut. We've got a little point here. Let me just clean that on up. Taking and combing the rest of this hair on into. So when we're molding the hair in the form and the shape of the head, you always, wherever the teeth touches the scalp, is where head rotates. So I could take the comb and place it here. I could create a seesaw. So therefore, where the teeth touches the head, that's where the hair lives. So we talk about the natural distribution, where gravity takes that hair to. So I'm going to stop here, and we will come back, and the left side of the head will be done, but we will walk into layering in the interior. We just worked the exterior, and now we're going to go into the interior of the head. So I want you all to get ready, come back, meet me here tomorrow.